Hello, and welcome to Fermata Fashion, presented by the Strings and Things channel, with special guest Raehann Bryce-Davis, hosted by me, so-called legend Rachel Sigmund. Now let's get to the show.
I'm feeling it.
Yeah. It's a bop. It is a royalty-free bop.
Yes, beautiful.
So today I'm here with my friend and guest, Raehann Bryce-Davis. Thank you so much for coming. I've been really looking forward to this episode.
Thank you so much for having me. This is a nice twist to the normal kinds of panels and interviews I have to do, so I'm excited you asked me.
Well, everyone that I've been asking to be guests, I really look up to, and I look up to a whole lot. So thank you for being here. So as we have with the other two episodes, I first need to detail how fancy you are. So let me detail how fancy you are. Miss Bryce-Davis is a 2018 recipient of the prestigious George London Award, the 2017 first place and audience prize winner of the Corsico Lirico Internazionale di Portofino competition, winner of the 2016 Richard F. Gold Career Grant, winner of the 2015 International Hilda Sadek competition, the 2015 Metropolitan Opera National Council District Pittsburgh winner, right? And the 2015 Sedat Güzel Gürel International Voice Competition in Istanbul. I don't know if I pronounced that right, but I tried.
It was good.
She was a participant in San Francisco Opera's prestigious Marilla program while a resident artist at Michigan Opera Theater. She has performed at Carnegie Hall with Opera Flandern, LA Opera, a co-production at the Metropolitan Opera, Teatro Massimo di Palermo, Theater an der Wein, and so many other places. So very fancy people. I'm very lucky to have a very fancy circle. Mm-hmm. So you are an individual that has a very unapologetic sense of style. And I was wondering if you could talk to me a little bit about your personal style and brand and what you want to portray as a person.
I mean, I think so much of what I decide to wear is about first being aware of myself, of my body, of my shapes, of my curves, of my things that I love and the things that I would maybe like to point the eye elsewhere. I actually started, I was a very spontaneous person before, very quirky, lots of colors and patterns and everything. And then I went to Manhattan School of Music, and we had these sessions on audition, what to wear for auditions. And so we came with all of these very specific rules, I wasn't allowed to wear anything that was sleeveless. Check out my shoulders.
Oh,
and everything had to be below the knee, and it had to be a specific color, and which those rules, they were worth something, because you want at an audition for no one to have any excuse to look at something other than be listening to your talent, So I came out of school with lots of squares of what I wanted to do and what I needed to do. And so lately I've been trying to, experiment a bit. I love colors. I love especially like African prints. I love yellows. I love greens. Yeah, I love colors. So I'm just embracing my best self, trying to looks like just wear things that my body is happy wearing. Also when we sing, our bodies do some things that the average person isn't doing, so trying to keep that in mind. But really just trying to exude joy and home in my clothes with a little bit of diva.
Oh, that is coming through so much. Absolutely. One of my favorite looks that I think I've seen you do is that yellow jumping up in the air on Juneteenth. I was just, it's it's just an image, but it just makes you so emotional.
Well, that's very sweet. I actually wore that on the way to a photo shoot, and then we were just kind of testing lighting, and then I was like, well, this actually looks like pretty good on camera, so let's just do the thing while we're, So that was very spontaneous, but it was fun. It worked out. Yeah.
So I know that you and we, when we were in conservatory, we were reading those like classical singer articles about like what to wear in auditions. And I think you and I are similar in that way where we want to do it right.
Right.
We want to do everything that we can to have a successful audition and put our best face forward. And now that we are in the 2020s, those rules are kind of going away. And what do you think that that means for you and for this industry now?
Well, this is one of the few positive things that has come out of COVID is like we've taken ownership of what people see. It's not the director deciding or the designer deciding how we look on stage. It's like, I feel like wearing green and I feel like my hair doing this. And so that's what you're going to see, and so there's freedom and power in that. I was also fortunate because I started dating a fashion designer about 2 years ago.
I'm really jealous.
Oh, I know. And so he's helped me a lot because I still was in my very square, these are the rules things. And he's like, but why? But why though? And so that's been really freeing, and it's always nice to have someone to be like, so like, does this work? And his answer is usually like, more. you know and also I've been fortunate to I'm an emerging artist for Opera for Peace, and so part of that is I get to have input from Harold James, who is the ambassador for Marc Jacobs in Europe. And so he is super fancy. So I've kind of lucked out and gotten like really amazing people on my team.
That's so awesome.
I know. I mean, my fashion does not show all of their fabulousness because I still it's still mine.
Yeah.
But I do try to like run it by some knowledgeable people, before I do something big. At least the every day and the concerts are mine, but like if I'm doing something fancy, like for the music video, I try to check with the specialist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what has 2020 been like for you?
It started amazingly. I've been really fortunate to have had some really great opportunities in the last couple years, and one of them being I was doing a world premiere of Eurydice at LA Opera, and I was playing Big Stone with
Oh yeah, I saw pictures. You look amazing.
well, thanks. And then the last day of our room run, I got invited to I was handed a score for Roberto Devereux. Like, can you sing this? Which was a huge opportunity. I learned it in 3 days and then was like in rehearsal with all these fancy people. Like, the next day, I don't know why I have no names in my head right now, but fancy people. It ended up being a cast of like Angela Meade and Ramon Vargas and all the heavy hitters. So I was really fortunate to get to do that. So we were on like this mountaintop experience. I had my debut, and then it all, kind of went to hell.
Yeah.
I spent the next few weeks just like in a catatonic state, basically, in front of a screen. And then I was like, no, this, I can't do this. We don't know how long this is going to last. You need to take some responsibility for what you want to be, what you want to create. So then I decided to give myself my second performance, because it's my second performance that I missed at LA Opera. And so thus became this decision to create this music video, which is the aria from Roberto Devereux. And I was like, yes, it's going to be great. It's going to be glam. It's going to be everything. And then in the middle of that, we heard about Ahmaud Arbery and George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and Atiana Jefferson, Atatiana. She's from Texas, and so anyhow, all of these really devastating murders, and it kind of changed everything. And I made the decision that my art had to reflect the reality that we were living, which was COVID, and which was dealing with all of this police brutality and things that were surrounding us. I was trying to go to protests whenever I could, like I had years before when we were, in New York, for Eric Garland. But so I ended up speaking the words that were of the aria, all'afflitto è dolce il pianto, which is to the afflicted, weeping is sweet. It's like the only joy that you have anymore. And, that's the state that we were in. And so I used the music video to tell that story and to feel a connection with my opera community, that I was feeling so far away from.
Yeah.
And just to speak to the truth of the moment, which was demanding justice and the need for equity in opera and in the world. And so thus became that. And ever since then, I've tried to take part in many projects. One of the next things I'm doing is a celebration of Black composers. I got to do a recital for LA Opera, which was all underrepresented composers, female composers, Black composers. And it's just, honestly, that recital, normally if you do a recital, it's going to be like 200 people in the audience. This had an audience of like 16,000 people, because now we're doing it online. And so that is one of the empowering things that we have of 2020, is that if you're creating things that people want to see and that are relevant, the audience is actually so much bigger, not smaller,
Yeah.
And so that's one of the beautiful things about 2020 and what I'm trying to further explore.
Yeah, I've been finding that too. After the pandemic is over, the industry isn't going to be the same.
Right.
There's so much about the industry that has been unsustainable for so long. The racial injustice, the exploitation of young artists, in terms of their work, and also sexually. The fact that it's mostly about spectacle, and really the reason why people like these stories is because they speak to the soul of the common man. Whereas initially opera might have been for the elite, it's sort of, it can unite everyone, because it's usually about people in the highs and lows of their life.
And I don't even agree that it used to be for the elites. Okay, maybe at the very beginning, I don't remember those connotations when they were the but in Mozart's times, there were the masses that were there. The elites were sitting higher, but it
Yeah,
was the regular people that were down there like throwing tomatoes and being like, I
yeah.
hate her singing, shut up. Like
Mhm.
I would almost rather we return to that
Yeah.
era, when people were honest and they were engaged and they were like, I don't like this story, or they're like, this story is amazing and it's my story. And we're telling stories that were timely and relevant and political. We take so many of the teeth out of these works. Like they were trying to address real systematic changes that they were trying to bring about.
Yeah.
And then we do them now as exactly like they were then, but therefore it doesn't address any of the political ramifications that they were trying to address for their times. So we do ourselves a disservice by not updating these pieces and making them speak to our times.
I mean, we have the freedom to make them more political now.
Right.
Whereas artists back then, they were worrying about, you know, imprisonment. They were worrying about making the wrong noble person who was filling their pocketbook upset.
Mhm.
They and because those people are dead now, and
Mhm.
also we've progressed so much as a society, not enough, but we have the freedom now to do it. And to if we continue to perform things just by the numbers, it's
Yeah.
actually a disservice.
Yeah. And I mean, there's some people that really love their poofy dresses and their high cleavage and their
Unlimited.
period pieces, which is super relevant and super fine. And I think that we should be saying yes and, you know,
Mhm.
so do some pieces for them that are period pieces and kind of museum pieces, and then do some that challenge an audience and really engage engage their minds and their hearts and their eyes and their everything, like yes and. So I think this is the beautiful thing about 2020. People Companies have to know now that what they were doing is no longer appropriate. you know we demand as a people, as an audience. I love so much that the New York Times has been doing piece after piece after piece about, yo, it's time for change. You have to do this now. And all of these movements, like with the Black Opera Alliance and all of these all
Just
of
the
these
fact
activist
that
groups.
just the
Hmm.
fact that our applications, a lot of people don't know that opera singers have to pay to apply places. And
Uh-huh.
yeah, and usually it's around an average of $45. The fact that most of them are free this year and or $5, it takes the whole class thing out of it, which I've always hated because I have a lot of friends who are independently wealthy who do really well in the business. I'm not. I'm I'm from a single parent household, so I pay for everything.
Right. Right.
Um,
Yeah, I mean, yes. And I mean, what you're talking about, the $45 is so real. And also, if you don't live in New York, it's flying to a place where you can have that audition, paying for somewhere to stay. If you want to develop as an artist, your voice teacher might charge $280 per hour. Then you pay the pianist, and then you need coaching. It's just such an expensive career, you
mhm.
know? And so I hope that when this ends, when the pandemic ends and we've returned to more of the schedule that we're used to, that these kind of equitable changes continue, because that's what we need. We don't need it just for now. We need it to continue so that more people have access, people of color, people from all economic backgrounds have access to becoming great singers. And we lose out as an audience on some great voices if we don't make those changes. So it's to our own benefit as the opera community to help these singers
Yeah.
who can't necessarily afford it.
Voices and perspectives.
Right. Yes. Yes.
So, you were talking about your music video Afflicted, which I think is a great update for Roberta Devereaux. Do you mind if we take a little bit of a peek at it?
Sure. To the afflicted. Here you go.
Afflicted. Sorry, let's try that again. Just didn't. It wasn't loud enough for me. So that was gorgeous, auditorily and visually. When it came out, I was just so overcome because I think 2020 has been one of those years where you sort of run out of screams. You know, there's only so much you can scream and be angry and cry. And I think it expressed a lot of what we as an industry and we as a nation feel like right now. I'm not a person of color, so I can't speak to that, but it's just been such a year, and it's such a beautiful piece of art, and rightfully you've gotten a lot of good reviews from this and praise, and I hope that continues because I find that music video to be extremely meaningful. I was gonna only play a minute of it, but I couldn't find a place to stop. And I was enjoying it too much. Could you tell me about the process of making Afflicted?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot to look in the face of like not knowing when you're gonna get another paycheck, you know? And so when I decided I was gonna do this project, I was like, am I insane? Because uh this is a huge undertaking, you know? And I sent out to look for a videographer. I just posted on Craigslist. I had no idea who to reach out to. And I said, this is my budget. I know it's laughable, but like, this is what I want to accomplish. And several people wrote back and they were like, yes, we would love to do your project, but instead of what you want to pay, it's going to cost $5,000. And I'm like, did you not just see my email? Like, that's not what I have, you know? And so after a while, I heard from a wonderful Black director named John Goff. And I was really fortunate. He said, look, this is totally not what this costs, you know, but he normally does a lot of commercial work. And so he was like, but I want to make something that's meaningful and beautiful and artistic. That's, you know, and so I'm willing to work with you. So that was a huge, amazing opportunity. And then the second, I originally wanted to do it in an opera house. And so I reached out, I thought I would dream big, reached out to all the huge local companies. And unfortunately, because obviously we're in the middle of a pandemic, it just wasn't possible with all of the new rules and regulations. So I think we were at 2 days before we were supposed to shoot, and I didn't have anywhere to shoot. So I just reached out on Airbnb and I just started clicking through like houses in the area, and I ended up finding this amazing like castle on a mountain. It's like 22 acres and gorgeous, and they're like it just looks medieval. You didn't even get to see like all of the amazing places in there, but it just had a nice elegant feel, like an older feel, and just a glam feel. And so I think it cost $1,350 per night to reserve it. And I was like, so I just like wrote to them and I was like, hi, I'm an opera singer. I can't pay your fee, but like literally, can you just let us record there for a few hours? Is there any way you can make a girl's wish come true? And like 10 minutes later, I got a message back that said, wish granted. And so we paid absolutely nothing to be able to record in that beautiful space. And, you know, and everybody worked with me. The wonderful pianist Esme Wong, she donated her time. So it was just like out of so little, we were able to create something that we all believed in. And so I was just so grateful to all of these people that worked with me and, you know, worked towards creating something for us as a community.
I don't think people understand how like part of our job is to make something so glamorous out of like nothing.
Yep. Yep.
Literally, I'm like buying $50 dresses at David's Bridal.
Yeah.
And, I don't know, just putting a big old shine on things.
Yeah.
Just because, I mean, some of us got that money, but most of us don't.
Correct.
But I would not have known that the production was, you know, not like $10,000. It looks
Yeah.
like $20,000.
Right. I mean, that's what it should have cost. It was just the generosity of people, which makes it all the more beautiful. You know, everybody took what they had and donated it towards the greater good, which is a beautiful thing. And if we can have more of that, the world would be so much more of a beautiful place, you know.
Yeah. I mean, there's good in people, I believe. And if people have the opportunity, most of them, I feel like, would give. But I wish more people did. So
I don't know if you would know that from watching the news, but yeah.
well, the news isn't covering like Joe Schmo giving like $5,000 to an individual. It's sensationalism.
Yeah. Yeah.
So but that stuff's still happening.
Yeah.
So there's two different versions of you in the music video. There's you as this glamorous opera singer with like these couture gowns on, and then there's you who is in the trenches at the protests. Where did those two individuals meet in you?
I mean, as a performer, that naturally happens, you know. We have these moments that we're on stage and there are 4,000 people with all their eyes on you, and then it's the glamorous applause and you do your big bow, and then you go back to your dressing room and take off all the makeup, and then you leave. And then as you're walking on the street, like a policeman might like just, you know, start give you second looks and be like, is this a dangerous person? You know, so you don't even have to try to differentiate. Life has put that role upon us as performers. You know, the glam is part of us, is part of our lives. As you said, like we go to a production and we might be invited to a production dinner, and you're sitting at a table with millionaires and billionaires, and you're there having this conversation like you completely belong, when really you have like $5 in your account. You know, I had this experience that I did a competition in Italy, and I had foolishly booked my flight the next morning somewhere that was 4 hours away, which sounded fine at the time, but no trains were running to get me there in time. And so I had no idea how I was going to get there. And so I talked to the competition, had set us up with staying with these amazing like millionaire donors. And so I mentioned to her that I was like trying to figure out how I was going to get to my flight the next morning. She was like, what's the problem? You just take a cab. You take a cab 4 hours is what she was recommending. Which was gonna cost like something like 500 euros. And I was like, thank you for your suggestion. And her daughter was there, and she was like the more woke one, and she was like, she can't do that because she's poor. And I was like, oh, but it's just such a dichotomy that is our lives. We roll with these millionaire people sometimes, but that's not the lives that we're living. So that the music video was just showing that, yes, we have this grandiosity and this elegance, but at the core we have our beliefs, and we have who we are authentically when there's no one else around. And so the video kind of shows all of that.
Mm-hmm. You're a multifaceted person. People don't think that we're multifaceted people, but I think it shows sort of the realities of being a performer. And thank you so much for making something like that. It's so amazing. I was wondering if you could talk to me about what it's like to wear your beliefs on your sleeves. Um, is there a way that we could do that more? And do you think it's important for us to sort of, put on our BLM shirt, or is it good enough for us to just, advocate?
Mm-hmm. I'll tell you, it's a scary thing. It's a scary thing to wear your beliefs on your sleeves.
Yeah, I got a Biden Harris sticker, and I'm like, should I put it on my car? Because I'm afraid someone's gonna like key my car,
Right. Yeah. And that's a real possibility. I have started engaging in much more activism than I was before this, and I have been warned by possibly everyone that I shouldn't do that, that I should just keep my head down, be quiet, and I'm fortunate and my career is in a really good place, and just get to the top, and then you can start talking. Then you can be a real person, and then you can speak, And I just think we don't have time. We just don't have time for all of that. Now is the time. I care so much about the state of opera, the state of Black people, about women, about just rights, human rights in general, and I'm not going to just sit on the sidelines and bide my time. We had so many artists in the 60s that had the same dilemma, and they had to decide if they were going to speak to what was true and what was right, or if they were going to just follow all the rules. Don't drink from the drinking fountain. It's okay if your family has to not be invited into the hall because they're Black. You can only perform for white people. They had to decide if they were going to abide by those rules and have a good career, or if they were going to speak truth. And all of them made their decisions which road they wanted to walk down. And I have always had the most respect for those who were like, screw that, I'm going to speak truth. I'm going to fight for my people. I'm going to do what is right and what is needed of me. I'm an artist. I will give what I have and speak to the times. And I've had so much respect for that, and I've wanted to be that person. So now here we are at this crossroads. Do you speak truth, or do you live the glamorous, following the rules life? I've decided no. Now is the time for change, and here we are. So whether I regret that in 10 years and I'm like, that's one thing, but this is my decision. This is who I am. I love Black people. I love women. I love everybody, and I want human rights and equity and beauty and truth, and everyone loving their bodies, and just all of these conversations that are happening simultaneously. I just want us to embrace it, and I want to be a part of the change, and a meaningful part of the change. And so here we are.
And I think people love you more for it. Because you can't change the truth, you know, and there are people who are at the top of their game right now, and they're still not speaking out.
Mm-hmm.
And they have more of an excuse not to because they have more to lose. But especially this year for me has been very similar. I've been really upfront, and people have wanted to protect me a lot because I've been very vocal about a lot of things that happened to me in my career and a lot of struggles in the industry. And yeah, a lot of people want to protect me and you, but we're not just doing it for us. We're trying to do it for everyone.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And sometimes there's a big blowback. Sometimes it gets really emotional, really hard. I've had a lot of criticism, and I've also had like a lot of attention from, I don't know, I've been putting up stuff and I've been getting like a lot of male gaze attention, which has made me uncomfortable. And I mean, we have to deal with that, but it's 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 not just about me, it's about other people. And I think that's important. And I think that's the best thing that's come out of 2020, that we've all decided, it's we have all this time to reflect, and we have this time to connect in a way that we haven't been able to before.
Mm-hmm.
And really, besides trying to scrounge up the little money that's around this year, like what else are we going to do?
Yeah. Yeah.
So people think fashion and personal style is frivolous. How can we use fashion and personal style to create positive change?
I mean, I think that's a big question.
Right?
I mean, as I told you, my boyfriend is a fashion designer. He designed a collection earlier this year, and he had a huge picture of Kamala on the back of it, on the back of one of his coats that he had designed. And so I was like, dude, you don't even know if she's gonna win. Like, you can't be so like forward, and then it's gonna be awkward. What are you gonna do with that coat in like 6 months? And he was like, I don't care. This is who I believe in, and this is, who I want to pour my art into, this specific coat. And I was like, I had a lot of respect for that, for making that call, Um, I mean, I think just not adhering to the status quo is a huge statement, you know? We see these celebrities like Lizzo, so much of the world is saying to you, like, if you're chubby, you need to cover yourself, hide.
Yeah.
You can't be sexy and overweight. Like, no. And she's like, scroll on, check me out, I have so much respect for that. So we absolutely, as artists, we have a platform, and we should use everything that we have, our voices, our expression, our physicality, to express who we are. And I'm learning a song right now. I'm singing the world premiere of an Anthony Davis piece in a couple weeks. And it says, we are bringing the change. We are the change. First it says we're bringing the change we want, and then it says we are the change. And so I think embracing that is the strongest form of activism and the bravest truth we can share.
I'm going to take that to heart, and I'm just going to try to Rachel it up the most I can be. And I hope that you keep continuing to be the most you could be, because you're absolutely phenomenal, and I'm really lucky to have you as a friend. And this is
Likewise.
thank you, and this has been so great. Thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely. Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, it's just, this has been like a very moving time for me, and I think a lot of other people are gonna feel like the same. And thank you so much. And yeah, let's roll the outro.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Thank you for watching Fermata Fashion with Rachel Sigmund. Please follow our guests on their respective social medias. Our next broadcast will be October 22nd, 7:30 p.m. EST, with special guest Leah Bruschi. See you next time.